Hey, welcome to this week's episode of Tiffany Talks. This show was created to help everyday people live extraordinary lives. So I'm going to get the light popping, bam, I'm going to get the chat going, and we're going to dive into a really interesting conversation today. And that is on the topic of respect and disrespect in relationships. So something really, I don't know if I really like that light, something really came up for me the other day. Talking about what does it mean to be disrespectful in a relationship. And so I started thinking about it, right? Because respect and lack thereof is a cause of breakdowns all over the world, you guys. So like gangs get into things about respect, countries get into issues about respect, relationships break down over respect, jobs are lost over respect. So respect is a big topic and disrespect thereof. So I decided, let me just look and see what is the definition of disrespect. So I looked it up, and here's what it said. Merriam-Webster's dictionary says, hey, Tao Mable, there's your name, baby. All right. It says, disrespect, to lack special regard or respect for, okay? To show or express disrespect or contempt. That's the verb. So I don't really like it when there is a definition that kind of has the word in it to describe it, right? So disrespect, the noun is to have low regard or esteem for someone or something, okay? So that's interesting, to have low regard or esteem for someone or something. So then it had me thinking, okay, well, what is the definition of respect, okay? Respect is a feeling of deep admiration for someone or something elicited by their abilities, qualities, or achievements, right? So when you respect something or someone, you admire their abilities, their qualities, or achievements, right? Or due regard for the feelings, wishes, rights, or tradition of others. So people respect their parents, they respect their relationship, they respect their teachers, they respect officers. So when you have a high regard or esteem for someone and you admire them as a result of their abilities, qualities, or achievements. And so that was really interesting because a lot of times we throw these words around, right, without really diving into what it means. So the idea of being in a relationship, last week we talked about trust. And this week we're going to talk about respect and respect or lack thereof. So I started doing some research. I want to actually have you guys draw your attention to someone called Jay Cadet. He has a YouTube channel, and he had a really good take on disrespect. So I'm going to kind of, dive into it from his perspective because it really resonated with me, and I wanted to talk about it today. So first of all, how many of you have been in a relationship where disrespect was really an issue? And it actually can break down the relationship. It can break up a relationship. It can cause a lot of tension in the relationship. And most people don't really know what to do about it or how to address it because they're really hurt about it. It really comes from a feeling of hurt, of not being seen or heard or acknowledged in the relationship. So I think the beginning of disrespect comes from when you're in a relation with someone and you start to take them or their commitment or their love for granted, right? That's the beginning of it. Because at the beginning of a relationship, everybody's all lovey-lovey and happy and, put on their best face. But then the sort of habits kind of come into effect and they take each other for granted. And then they start to feel some kind of way. You know how they have that phrase that says, oh, he had me feeling some kind of way, right? So we're going to label that as disrespect. So the first way that you can look at disrespect is when someone is making condescending remarks about the other person's thoughts or feelings. Now, this really resonated with me because a lot of times disrespect comes from disagreement, and each person feels like they're right based on their experiences and their beliefs. And so if you have one person that has a set of experiences and beliefs and another person that has a set of experiences and beliefs and they don't match, right, then they can interpret that as disrespect. I mean, it's an easy way to think about it, like with gangs, right? Like, because we all know like gangs, there's like the Crips and the Bloods. If they don't, if they don't respect each other, it becomes a war. And like maybe it's a territory war or a color, like what color you're supposed to wear, but it has to do with their traditions and beliefs that can get people up in arms. Well, the same thing happens in relationships. Now, the first step towards mending that or coming to a meeting of the minds is to realize that that other person's beliefs and feelings are just as valid as yours. And what often happens is when someone says something and it doesn't make sense to you, you want to dismiss it. You want to be like, you know what, that doesn't make any sense, and just boom, and dismiss it. And that's what starts those initial feelings of disrespect. So what you can do in the future is, instead of just dismissing the other person's point of view, ask questions. Ask questions, like real questions, to find out like what is the foundation of their beliefs, what are their experiences that led them to feeling this way, right? And arriving at the conclusions that they arrived at. Because when you dig a little bit deeper, you'll find out more about your partner and you'll be able to bridge that gap of understanding. And so not being dismissive of what someone believes just because it's different from yours is a way to overcome that feeling of being disrespected. Second thing is that you get to open up that conversation and be available to come together and create a new belief as a couple. Right? Because sometimes you want to stand firm on your beliefs on this side and that side, and then you move forward like this, right? And sometimes like this. But if you can really have a conversation about what created the beliefs, what created that feeling, okay, and the other person can understand that, yes, you have a different feeling from mine, but it's not less than or better than, right? Because we always want to be right. Like my opinion is right and yours is wrong. That leads to disrespect as well. So how can we look at each other's experiences, look at each other's value system, look at each other's conclusions and say, can we work together to come up with a new belief system that unites us instead of divides us, right? So that's number one, understanding that each person's thoughts and feelings and beliefs are just as valid as yours. Disrespect comes from thinking that the other person their beliefs are crazy and you just want to dismiss them, right? The second thing that leads to disrespect, which a lot of people don't pay a lot of attention to in relationships, and this can be relationships with children, with your family members, with people at your job, and it's nonverbal communication. And do you know that most of our communication is nonverbal? So when someone is talking to you and they're expressing themselves and you roll your eyes or suck your teeth or breathe, or you pick up your phone, right? It sends a message without you saying anything that person doesn't matter. That what that person says is not important to you. What that person feels does not resonate with you. And that creates a tension that is really hard to overcome because that nonverbal communication becomes a habit, like teeth sucking, sign, eye rolling. How many of you guys do that intentionally as nonverbal communication and think just because you haven't said anything, you haven't disrespected that person, right? So all of those things. So learning how to pay attention to that type of communication with your partner can alleviate a lot of unnecessary tension. So it really has to come down to the fact that what that person feels should matter. And it should matter enough for you to look them into their eyes, open your heart, open your ears, right? And be in community with your partner. That's what we all want, right? But usually when there's feelings of hurt, right? When there's feelings of fear, we resort back to these childhood habits, right? Of taunting or withdrawal or things like that. But that doesn't lead to a healthy relationship. It's just that childhood habits. So that as we mature in our communication, we can learn to communicate with one another so that we hold each other high and that we actually care about what the other person thinks or feels. Now, let me tell you something. Once you master this skill, your whole life will improve, right? Because people will feel like when they're around you, that they matter, that they're heard, right? And you get the person that gets selected for jobs and promotions, and you vibrate on a level which attracts a mate that respects you as well. So practicing these habits is not about the other person, it's really about you. So start to pay attention to your nonverbal communication. Number 3, this is really important because in relationships, right, a lot of people do this. And they do this because they don't want to deal with the pain, you guys. And so we have a feeling like relationships should be pain-free, problem-free, vulnerability-free. That's not true. There's no relationship that is void of problems or hurt feelings or vulnerability. That's just not the way life works, right? Even your relationship with your children, right? They disappoint sometimes. They hurt your feelings sometimes. They say things that you don't like sometimes. It doesn't mean that you walk away from the relationship. So what people have gotten into the habit of doing with their intimate relationships when they're being disrespectful, which means dismissive of the other person, is that they threaten to leave. And that threatening to leave is really about, I don't want to feel these feelings. I don't want to be in this relationship. And they pull back as a way of threatening that other person. But what that does is that creates mistrust. It's almost like every time you threaten to leave and then you don't, it chips away at that fiber of trust in the relationship that you can be somebody that they can depend on, right? And so it's also a defense mechanism. Well, I don't have to stand for this. Well, I can be out of here. Well, I don't need this, right? It's a defense mechanism of fear of abandonment. Right? So when you have fear of abandonment, then you threaten to leave a lot, right? But then just wherever you go, there you are, right? So when you don't work on those issues and learn to work through issues and bridge the gap of understanding, and when you really do the work, then you can decide, right? You can decide if the relationship is for you or not for you. But when you react out of pain and threats and you want to withdraw just because it doesn't feel good at the moment, that doesn't help you evolve so that you can show up better next time. Okay? So number 3, threatening to leave, right? It's not a willingness to be open and work through it. Number 4, right? And I just caught my kids with this in the car. And so say, you know what, you're stupid. That's so stupid. Or why are you you're dumb? Or, that was you're so, I don't know, you're ugly. Or that looks terrible on you. Name calling, you guys, name calling. And we might think that it's playful because we learned it with our brothers and sisters or with friends or things like that. Even women calling each other bees and hoes and all this other kind of stuff, and men doing that. That's hurtful. Right? It's really hurtful. There's a reason why we don't do that in school, right? Because it hurts people's feelings. But then what happens is over time, people get callous to it, and they are in the habit of calling each other's names. So when you get callous, when you callous your heart, it actually creates disconnection. So if you are about to form your lips to say something negative about someone who you're supposed to love, check yourself. Check yourself, especially with, I mean, with your children, you guys. Don't call names to people. Like, call them by their name, not outside of their name, right? Because when you love and you respect someone, then you want to honor them. The moment that you slip into disrespect, that means that you no longer hold them in high regard. So ask yourself, is that true? Or am I just lashing out? Am I just lashing out because I don't want to feel the pain that I'm feeling, right? Ask yourself these questions, because calling names is really hurtful to people. And you don't want to hurt somebody if you want to be in a loving relationship with them, right? So the last one would be mocking, making fun of, or laughing at your partner in private or in public, but especially in public. Like, have you ever seen a couple that, like, they're in public and they're just like lashing on each other? They are lashing out and being mean to each other. So how they're showing up for themselves and for other people is as opponents. They're showing up as opponents, as adversaries, right? So when you're lashing out and you're attacking someone that you're supposed to love, that's disrespectful, because it's not holding them in high regard. So you get to ask yourself, why am I in a relationship with someone who I don't hold in high regard? Why would you get yourself in the habit of talking about or making someone look bad? Because what it really is a reflection on you, on what you're choosing for yourself in your life. So when you're out in relationship with someone, if you have an issue or problem with your partner, you get to solve it with your partner, not in front of an audience, right? Because in front of that audience, it creates isolation, it creates opposition, it creates pain and embarrassment, and those are not the things that you want to have in a positive and productive relationship. So hopefully, like, these 5 tips will really help you. Again, check out Jay Cadet, because the way he laid it out, I thought was really great. And I want to give credit to him as a YouTuber. He's a relationship specialist. And just have a look at your relationships and see where it shows up. And if you think that the relationship is worth having, then you get to work on being the best person you can be. And that means being respectful, being honorable, and holding that person in high esteem. All right, so I'm going to open it up for any questions. I know you guys were checking in. Let me see who's here. Give a shout out. Say your name. Say what you thought about the talk. If anything's come up for you regarding respect or relationships. Because listen, relationships are at the core and the heart of our being. And then how we have our relationships is really a reflection of the quality of life that we're going to have, right? Because if you don't work on that work relationship, family relationship, loving relationship, then your life cannot be in harmony, because you're not on an island by yourself. So that's why I'm doing these talks, so that we can all elevate our lives and have an extraordinary, there we go, extraordinary relationships. So Cheryl says there's power in words, and words can hurt or heal. Yes. Baraka says she agrees. She thinks respect is more important in relationships than love, right? Yes, the name was J-A-Y Cadet, C-A-D-E-T. He's a YouTuber, and he talks about relationships. And so he's really good. J-A-Y-C-A-D-E-T. All right, so you guys, leave any questions or comments in the description box below. If you have any topics that you'd like to cover, just let me know. I'm always sort of combing around, looking for topics and subjects that can elevate us, so that we can elevate our quality of life. All right, any more questions coming in? All right, that's it, signing out. And remember, as always, there we go, Ty. She says she believes that keeping the lines of communication open is the best. Yes. And Cheryl, absolutely. Disrespectful words can lead to abuse. Yeah, disrespectful words are abuse. Dating or having, Joseph wants to know about having an interracial relationship. Love is love, you guys. Love is love. So, like, you don't get to let race dictate whether you love somebody or not, right? Thank you for appreciating the video, Barack. So Joseph, like, don't let race dictate whether you love somebody or not. That's limitation. We live in possibility here. Hey, Wendy, you're welcome, love. You're welcome. So if this video was helpful, make sure that you share it with a friend and you like and subscribe. Like and subscribe to Tiffany Talks and share this video with a friend. If you have any subject that you would like for me to cover, type it in the chat and I will check it out and we'll pick up those topics in the future. All right. Okay, thank you guys. Have a beautiful day. Bye.